GKFX Prime presents the Market Analysis Webinar.
Hello everybody, welcome to another weekly analysis video. It's your favorite analyst trader here, Dima, and we have another week in the markets. We are in the second week of December, coming up into the holidays, the slower period. Remembering that we are going to analyze some more charts as usual, but we're going to keep in mind that we are in that December period, usually the quieter time, the slower time. However, we might have a little surprise here because this week we have some major news in the market, some surprises that could spring up. We're going to take a look at that in a second. In the meantime, I hope your trading is going well. Thank you for joining me. Another week of trading opportunities. Let's have a look at what we've got and bear in mind that we have some major news, but at the same time, we may get a bit of a slowdown depending on which pair, which market you choose. Let's have a look at what we've got. All right, are you ready? Let's begin for this week. As ever, with the economic calendar, Monday, we've got some smaller news, a GDP figures from the pound, the UK there. On the CAD, a speech. On Tuesday, we've got another speech on the pound, and then on the USD we have CPI numbers, which is a big one usually, and from Australia we have a speech there as well. On Wednesday we get into the big one. We have CPI numbers from the pound, and then a major one, the rate statement and FOMC together on one day on the dollar there, and then the GDP figures from New Zealand. On Thursday, yet more big news. We've got employment change from on the Aussie, but then we get into more rate announcement and a policy statement on the Swiss, rate announcement on the pound, euro financing rate. So really quite a few in one day, and we've got the FOMC on Wednesday. This could be an interesting one. Let's see where the volatility goes, if it actually hits the market. We've then got retail sales on the dollar, which is a bit of a smaller news compared to the others, and then a press conference later in the day on the euro, and on Friday, a small retail sales bit of figures there on the pound. I really want to watch out for Tuesday, the CPI numbers. Wednesday, I marked it out, the FOMC, big one, in preparation for those announcements. In terms of risk, you may not want to place a trade just before those news announcements because they may affect the markets. Some volatility may line up with that. Same thing on Thursday. And this week is going to be one to watch out for, as one of those ones where the news may spring up some surprises. And as ever, keep repeating here, managing the risk is numero uno. Pay attention to that. All right, let's get to it with we've got on the charts today. I'll just take my sip of water. And let's begin with what we've got for this week. Similar to last week, as we've got similar continuations, similar ideas. Let's have a look at how the market is panning out and see if we can synchronize with what's going on. Okay, let's start with the euro. As ever, the big one. We had the big push up. We got bullishness in the euro right now, bearishness in the dollar, and we had a bit of a slowdown last week, this doji candle, this neutral candle, and we may be getting a slowdown here on the euro. Looking on the 4 hour, the week ended up more or less even, created this range. So now the question is, where are we going to go from here? Well, because of this uncertainty, we really don't know at the moment. So there will possibly be two scenarios. Let's draw up a few scenarios to look at. I can see this rough trend line happening here. I can also see these highs. So I'm going to wait for the market to tell us what it wants to do. And if it's the case that it clears these highs and continues on the bullishness, then a continuation after a pullback would make sense once it clears these highs with clear momentum and closes above. A pullback and the continuation to the next level would be the most logical, a higher probability idea into this level up here. Now, if we have the opposite being the case, a break and close below down here, then I'll be looking at this level as the next target. If we head down lower and we get bullishness in the dollar after the news, so something like this, pullback, and then to continue to the downside. Obviously, we will have to have some major bullishness in the dollar and to see some major bearishness in the euro dollar. I will have to wait for that to plan out. At the moment, this is a lower probability situation as it stands because of the price action, because of the range, and we have no clear direction, no clear reversal or continuation as it stands. Okay, let's move on to the euro pound. Euro pound, if I go to the weekly again, last week we were looking at bearishness based on the week before. And we had a very messy range, and then the market began dropping. So if I just delete everything from last week, we did breach this zone, and then we just about pipped this high, but then we dropped lower. So the indication here is that we haven't quite gone higher, we haven't closed higher. So I would expect the probability, despite the candle closing bullish, the week is actually more bearish / neutral. You can see this wick to the upside. So I would still favor the sell idea, especially as if we take a look here, we can see we've broken through this structure to the left. We've broken this structure to the left as well. So now I am looking at this zone right here where we're at to hold. Now this is the possible sell scenario from here where we're at without breaching this level up here. Now if this level is breached, they would validate the whole idea, and the next target, the next level to trade towards would be this low down here. That's the scenario I'm looking at right now, which is playing out at the moment at the time of this recording. And looking at the lower time frame, we have had a reaction off there as well, and now pulling up slightly back to where it was. So let's see if we get that continuation or not. That's what I'm seeing at the moment on the euro pound. It's ranging here, but more bearish than bullish. So that's why I'm going for the downside here in terms of the probabilities. So that's euro here for you, euro pound. And next, let's go to pound Swiss. Let's look at last week. So last week we did not get the continuation of the previous week bullish momentum. The candle reversed and closed bearish, ending up with this inside Harami bar. And now the market has paused. So from here, since we have this pause, we're still continuing higher because we have no clear reversal. So with that, thinking about higher prices, you can see the market went lower, 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 began ranging, and really was very, very tricky here. Very messy and tricky to see. The next thing I'll be looking at is a continuation of the up move, of the upwards momentum. So what would that look like? Well, we've got a bit of a trend line here. We've got a structure, major structure up here. So I'll be looking for that break, waiting for the clear break, then a, oops, that's the wrong tool. Then a pullback as usual, getting a better price, and then continuing to the upside first to the top of the range. And then you can see the next part is this high up here. So from here to there, that's about 85 pips. See where the market swings and where the stop loss is. So we also have this level up here, so we're going to watch out for this level if it gets breached. From there, if we head lower, then the next area I'll be looking at is down here, which would be a nice cheaper price to look at, to trade from. At the moment it's unclear, we're in this sort of wedge scenario. So let's see what happens where we're at in a few days time. Remember, we have the pound news, we'll have the Swiss news as well. So this may yet range and accumulate a little bit longer, be more uncertain depending on the news. With that, when the news comes, then we may see the volatility. So this may again require a bit more patience as the market begins to range again, the December period, and until the news comes out, we may wanna wait for a little bit. Okay, so that's the pound Swiss. Let's move on to Euro New Zealand. Euro New Zealand, last week we had the continuation bearishness from the previous bearish week candle, and once again previous week was bearish as well. You can see that very clearly. So going to look to continue into this target that I was looking at previously, which we haven't yet hit. And because of that, I'll be looking for that to continue and move to the downside. You can see last week, towards the end of last week, we had the push to the downside, closed very bearish, and now I'm going to look for pullback, as you can see, into the area where we're actually at right now. We've got the fib here, and here's that 61, here's the 78. So let me mark out the zone and push away from this zone to the downside into our level is what I'll be looking at for this higher probability scenario. Let's see if we get that reaction, a reversal pattern of this area, and then coming to the downside into this level. That's the idea on the high probability on Euro New Zealand. As you can see, we've got a couple of euro pairs with the sell scenario, sell idea. However, the euro dollar is strong, so pick your ones carefully, the one that you're going to choose to trade, and bear in mind the news as always, right? Keep that in mind. Let's move on next to CAD yen. Let's look at the weekly. On the weekly, what we were looking at previously was, after seeing this bearish, very bearish candle clear momentum to the downside, looking for a pullback and then continuation to the downside. We did not get this higher price that I was looking for. Instead, the week ranged. The whole week was ranging, not moving anywhere. So there was no trade there. Now, coming into this week, what is the next idea? The next idea is actually the same as previous, because we still haven't had that better price that I was looking at. Then what that means is I would still look for the price to reach this zone, create a reversal pattern, and then move to the downside. Again, that is almost 400 pips away, a nice risk to reward. And let's see if that is the case. We may also just get a drop. If that is the case, then this whole idea becomes invalidated, because I don't get that better price, and then I'm not sure what the market is doing. At the moment, I'm anticipating this price, this zone. If you want to draw a fib, as usual, the 61.8 level is up here, 78 is up here, and let's see if we do, looking on the daily, get that better price. A bit cleaner on the daily, isn't it? Chart here, you can see this ranging movement last week, and I want to see that nice move to the upside, a push, and then reversal to come down. That would be a much cleaner trade. Right now, it's not clear. Okay, hope that is straightforward for you. Another yen pair here. Let's look at another yen pair. Aussie yen. Let's look at Aussie yen. I haven't looked at that for a while, I don't think. Similar picture to the CAD yen, isn't it? Which is why I am choosing this as a higher probability. What I do see is this level down here that we could breach after going through this range. But the main thing is, last week we had a push up. We did not close above this candle, and this, I'm looking at this major push down to be in continuation with the market, and that's where we are heading. The bullish momentum, as you can see, is very weak at the moment. It keeps trying to push higher. We're leaving this wicks and it just bursts lower. It just drops each time. Now, The weekly was just a pullback for me last week because we didn't have any reversal here. I'm not seeing that. So, in line with the CAD yen idea, similar idea, let's draw a fib again if you want to do that, if that helps you. Once again, we've got 61.8 and the 78 area. So, here is the zone of reversal that I'll be looking at going into this week. And if we do get that some kind of reversal pattern of this zone and then a drop and then continuation, again creating new swings to the downside, and this level right here, which is 90, let's call it conservatively 91, is the next level to target. And then this scenario here is once we break the structure, which the last structural low is down here. Once we break, if you miss the top here where we get the reversal, you can wait for the downside, for it to break, move lower with momentum candles, big bearish candles like this one here, or this one, or this one. And then you could just wait for a pullback, get a better price, and then to the downside. That's the high probability scenario. If you want to be safe, then do wait for that and don't take the high, don't try to catch the top and wait for it to actually break. And you may have a slightly, the price may not be as good as the first entry, but you will have the probabilities in your favor, stacking up in your favor of the trade of this idea. So that is the scenario. I'm just giving you a little bit of an option here if you are not quite sure, or you just want to see how things play out and give yourself a little bit of time and an opportunity to watch the market unfold. Sometimes that is the better thing to do. Sit on your hands, put your hands under your thighs and just wait for that to happen. Okay. Lastly, let's look at NAS100 or NASDAQ. What we can see the previous weeks, 4 weeks, we have this ranging movement. We are kind of stuck in this range here, aren't we? So where do we go from here? Well, on the monthly picture, we are very clearly bearish. We've got those lower highs, lower lows being broken. So I would expect that to continue. Now the question becomes, what price are we going to get in? Looking on the daily, you can see this ranging movement. Here, let's look at a few possible scenarios that we can consider. Now that we've gone into the zone of retracement, the question is whether this is now the high and we are now breaking down lower. If this is the high and we're breaking down lower, I'd like to see a nice push to the downside once again, break these lows, and then get a pullback to a better price and continuing to the downside. We've got the first major level down here, which is the clear one. And then after that, we're going further down into this level down here. But that's a way away for now. Let's have a look at what's in the near term. If we break lower, get a pullback, clear break, clear momentum, I would like a nice better price. We then have possible zone here. If that's not the case, you may want to wait. Again, remembering the news. We've got several news pieces, important bits of news in the middle of the week. As usual, that is the timing to watch out for. If we continue to range, we may get another push to the upside, even higher into this gap right here that you see in the price. So in fact, because of that gap, which the market has not revisited, I'm just going to adjust the point of focus for us up here, looking at this gap in the market. If we get that push higher, and then if we get the reversal somewhere up here, reversal pattern, then I'll be looking for the downside and for it to continue and creating new swings, something like this. Carrying on to the downside, which is the expected direction. So far, the market has not quite done that, although because we have broken these lows, lower lows, lower lows, lower lows, I am looking at some possible weakness. Well, let's see if we reverse from where we are here and continue the downside, or if we're going to go higher up to the top of the range. When the market does range, we do have a few bounces, top to bottom, bottom to top, and we have to wait until the market takes a set and creates a direction, shows us where it wants to go, rather than anticipating or predicting or thinking that we know what the market is doing. Best not to place your views or your ideas on the market until it is just showing you what it wants to do. So, in summary, these are the charts that I'm looking at for this week in terms of probabilities. We got euro dollar, just as a recap, euro dollar, we'll see which side the market takes. Euro pound favoring the downside in terms of probabilities, pound Swiss the upside, bearing in mind the news. Euro New Zealand the downside, with the price reversal and the area that we're looking at. CAD yen, again the downside after we see a better price. Aussie yen also the downside until we see a reversal at the highs, and then we've got the NAS100, Nasdaq. Let's see where the market takes us from there after it breaks in one direction or the other with its range, from its range. Okay guys, that is it. Hopefully that helps you. If you've got any charts or any questions, post them down below. Like the video, subscribe. Remember that if you need any help, if you've got any questions for the next video, comment it and I'll take a look at that with you. Hope this was a good one for you and you enjoyed it, and you've got some good ideas in terms of probabilities. Manage your risk as always and trade safe. All right. Thank you for watching. My name is Dima. I'll see you on next week's webinar. Going into the holidays, you may be taking some time off. Maybe you are going away. If that's the case, then have a good holiday and I'll see you back in January. And if not, then see you next week. All right. Thank you guys and good luck in trading this week. All right. Bye for now.